Welcome to this latest edition of the the Real Deal podcast. Yeah, it's late. It's late on the East Coast. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn, episode 867 of the hit series and in its final season, Snowfall, season 6, episode 6, titled Concrete Jungle. Um, this recording will be late. Come running a little late, so we'll be a little bit behind, but we'll be all right. You'll be all right. Get this early Friday morning. This was an episode. It was like the first damn episode. We knew this. We knew that this was coming. There will be a series of deaths of to major characters in this for this show. This Jerome will not be the first. Not even close to being the first. Um, Themes. The money ain't worth it. That was, of course, echoed by one the late Jerome Saint as he got into it with Louis over the course of this episode. We'll flush that scene out. So that was the theme. The money ain't worth it. And, all these characters will soon find out, soon enough. Some of them, before it's too late, that the money simply ain't worth it. Let's get right into it. The deep dive, Jerome Saint, of course, his character was killed off last night. Well, before we get to that, let me get you the episode kind of recap here. Teddy scrambles to protect his family. Veronique's mom fails to get her out of the game. Kane finally catches up with Louis. Teddy Mack gives Ruben an ultimatum. Franklin and Gustavo discuss the future, and tragedy strikes, of course, the Saint family. That, of course, the death Jerome Saint at the hands of one Kane when, of course, they shot each other out in that kind of that square off. Um, Jerome sacrifices, excuse me, in essence, sacrificed his life for one Louis, his wife. This was listen. This we talked about last episode that was that episode 5, Ebony and Ivory. Despite the fact that the death of Teddy's father at the hands of Franklin. That was not a major death. That character had been maybe 2 or 3 episodes in the entire 6 year run. That episode was a bridge episode to something major happening, and that was going to be this. This was 6 seasons in the making. Jerome's death was inevitable. It was going to happen, and it was going to happen at the hands of Louis. Louis was going to be the reason. Since season 1, Louis was going to be the reason why Jerome did not make it out the game. Like that, it was just like I was thinking about what was a kind of a comparison to this, and I remember a couple of years ago, myself and Rob Sapp did a rewatch on The Wire, and we really went into the Avon Stringer, how that came apart, and especially with the episode Middle Ground, they of course betraying each other. And basically, Rob Sapp broke it down, saying it was kind of like a Shakespearean tragedy, and they were bound that Avon and Stringer were just they were headed in different directions, and they were bound. It was just going to happen. Like, there was just nothing that was going to stop that from them from breaking up and, trying to betray each other. Same here with Louis and Jerome. Like, Louis, and we really found this out. We found out really a lot things that we probably knew about Louis, but really she flushed it out during the scene that we'll talk about later on. But she was going to be the death of Jerome. Like that was just all there is to it. Jerome was a character that uh just was not, he just wanted out. And even in that shootout, if you notice, maybe he could have waited for Franklin and Scully. There was another way that could have transpired, that could have happened. But he is almost like he was ready to die. Like, it was almost like, hey, we're gonna do this. I mean, if we have a shootout, chances are there's gonna be a pretty good chance that I get hit. Like, I think Jerome was just ready to die, and I think Jerome did not want to carry on. Like, he made it over the course of this season, over the course of the episode, he wanted out, and and you kind of, despite the fact that he became a drug dealer and what have you, and did some bad things, killed mother of a child, Black Diamond, in the episode one. You kind of empathize with the character with Jerome. Jerome, because Jerome never at his heart was a killer. Like I said, Jerome was a guy who wanted to sell dime bags and wanted to just move a little weight, keep it quiet, have his little having his little house, so to speak, and just keep it moving. But when you look back at the side, you look when you look at there are two major reasons why Jerome is not here. It's not it died, and character got killed off. One, Louis. Two, Franklin. He got squeezed between those two sides. And as the show has gone along, as the seasons have gone along, we found out that Franklin and Louis are basically kindred spirits in that sense. Like they're basically they are one and the same. That's part of the reason why that was part of the reason why they had they complement each other in terms of building the empire. That's part of the reason. That's one of the reasons why they broke apart and couldn't, like, they both wanted, they are two sides of the same coin, and Jerome in essence got squeezed between those two. You're talking about his wife, his the love of his life, and his nephew. There was nowhere to run. Jerome never had a chance. Once he introduced Franklin to those dime bags and Louis got her hooks into Franklin, that was it. That was it for Jerome. Like that was it. Like Jerome was there was no way out for Jerome. There was no way out. He wanted out, but there was just simply no way out. And this again, the death of Jerome had to happen on this show. It had to happen. They had to do it this way. Now, remember, keep this in mind. I got a little nervous because I remember I told you earlier in earlier podcast that I did not want to see this whole kumbaya shit. I didn't want to see a situation where the family got back together. Something happened to where they all get back together, and then, they make up and say go after Teddy and what have you. I thought we might be head in that direction when Franklin, as he's pulling off, after he told Louis, "Hey, pray for a quick death, give up Buckley." He put, he had, conscious, another wire line from Bunk Moreland, conscious due cost, or no, maybe no, Butchie said that to Omar, conscious, conscious due cost, and Franklin's conscience got the best of him. He decided to have Louis rescued. He did it, and he didn't do it for Louis. He did it for Jerome. Like that was him paying his respect to Jerome. That was not about feeling sorry for Louis because she was about to get, gang raped by some Neanderthals that just got out of prison. No, that was he did that for Jerome. So um I kind of got nervous because I'm like, okay, so we know that they're gonna rescue Louis. That's gonna happen. They're not killing her character off. Probably kill Kane. Where does that leave everybody moving forward if you have are we going to see it? Are we going to see a situation where you have Franklin, Jerome, and Louis going after Teddy and what have you, and find, like, I couldn't, that would not work for me per se. That just would, like, I you've been trying to kill each other for the better part of 5 episodes. Now all of a sudden, like, no, it had to happen this way. So now you have a situation where Jerome dies. Louis, of course, and it's insane that she's thinking this way, blames Franklin when most of this is Louis' fault as far as how, if Jerome is the number one reason why Jerome is dead is because of Louis. Like, there's all this Louis' decision making, her going over Franklin's head with the plug, her making a move to have Kane killed. Like, she made those moves. Those are two moves. I mean, those moves, like, those moves were just moves that you just can't make. Like, those are the two, enormous mistakes that Louis made, and Jerome paid the price for it. Um, Jerome, the actor who played Jerome, by the way, I'm in Joseph, and I'm going, dip into my NBA bag as far as the MVP discourse, from a standpoint of, everybody wants to give out the MVP before it's over with, before the season's over with. Well, right now, I mean, the MVP of this show throughout the first six episodes would be Jerome, the character. I'm in Joseph, Jerome Saint's character. Like that guy has been spectacular over the course of six episodes. He was great. He was great in episode six. Like he is going to another level as an actor with that character. Like I always liked the Jerome character. Thought he was, cool dude, uncle, cared about Franklin, cared about his family, just had some comedy with some of the stuff that he would say, messing with Leon. I always liked the character. It was a well written character. The actor who played it, was fine with his performance. But that actor, Amen Joseph has taken his game to another level in this season. Like he has been spectacular this season. Like I mean, going to places where I didn't think that particular actor could go. And definitely he definitely got his flowers on the internet, on Twitter, what have you, when people were talking about this past episode. So this was inevitable that this had to happen this way, that that Jerome got squeezed between Louis and Franklin. Two people who just have this insatiable drive for power, money, self worth. Two people who, in essence, are addicted to the game. So, and take everything personally, especially Louis takes everything personally, and we'll flush out that when we go over best scene. So this one, this is you still have four episodes left. I didn't think that there was any chance that Jerome was going to make it through the season. We knew there was speculation when the trailer came out, when people saw the funeral, that it was Jerome. People either said he was either going to be Jerome or Leon. Um, when I saw, when you see Louis with the black hat, I immediately thought Jerome. And even before that, I didn't think Jerome was going to make it through this season at the hands because of Louis. But again, I'll step on my thoughts and my predictions and thoughts. This is going to be the first of many major. This is the first major character death of the series, like the first one. This is the first major. Franklin's dad was not a major character. We still don't even know if Franklin's dad is dead. Really, we never saw a body and what have you. He could be hiding out somewhere, but I doubt it. So out of the major characters, this is the first major one. And again, this will be the first of many. I don't think I would be. I don't outside of Sissy. I don't think any of them probably will survive. To be honest with you, I can see to be perfectly honest with you. So definitely a hats off to the actor that played Jerome Saint. And his death will, you know, you're gonna feel his death will be felt for the remainder of the series, because now uh Louis clearly blames Franklin. Franklin still has his own issues, with the Teddy situation, Teddy being coming after him now. And Louis, of course, will be, I would assume, will still be coming after Franklin. So Jerome they kill Jerome off. Again, similar to, I think, Avon, Barksdale, and Stringer Bell, that this was something that was just was bound to happen, that was going to happen, that just um could not be avoided. And I think, what you're gonna see, what you see with this is you're gonna see that the price that has to be paid for excuse me, the price that Franklin and Louis are going to have to pay. Like, they're going to be those two major characters, because Franklin and Louis are the driving forces of this series, in essence. When you think about it, like, Franklin, becomes a kingpin. Louis basically was like a queen pin, and she pushed Franklin pushed Franklin into this. She gave Franklin terms of the curiosity, in terms of really believing in Franklin, basically telling Franklin, hey, yeah, you could be more than just a regular drug dealer. You could be this, that, and the third. So those are the two driving forces of this series. And those two, in essence, have to pay the most when it comes to deaths or sacrifices of people around them getting hurt. So this will be the first of many in terms of collateral damage around those two particular characters. Best scenes, really there were two Jerome Louis scenes. We'll kind of combine those together. Jerome comes home drunk. We remember coming from last episode where he was drinking the Crown Royal and went to the car shop, and he's drunk out of his mind, barely could walk, crashes into I think a flower plant. But you know what they say, you know, a drunk person speaks sober thoughts. He basically flat out tells Louis, "This is it. I'm out. I'm going to Jamaica. I'm not trying to kill my family. I'm not trying to be, dodging bullets. I'm done with this. And you can do what you want. I'm done. I'm not can't do it no more." And that's where he echoes the line, spits out the line, "The money ain't worth it. Like the money ain't worth this shit. It's not." So even in and then they have a scene that when he sobers up the morning after, when they're both somewhat clear headed, if you want to call it that, Louis basically breaks down why she is doing what Louis gives you another layer of herself in terms of saying, look, despite the fact that I've kind of been the brains behind all of this, people see you. I don't get the respect. I never got the respect that I've deserved, not by you, not by people, who people would look at me, lick their lips, or they completely dismiss me as a woman, especially as a black woman. She didn't say those words as a black woman, but we can read into the subtext in terms of what message the show is trying to send in terms of how, and this is the great thing about this show, about in terms of how black women are treated, even amongst even amongst their own, even amongst other black people. And I was been reading this book, um, that's telling the story of the Black Panthers, or the Black Panthers is a part of the story. It's kind of telling the rise of the civil rights movement with with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and that story, at the midnight hour. And basically, it's been telling the story about how hard women even had it within the group, within the Black Panther group, in terms of sex, misogyny, and sexism, and misogyny, and what have you. Like even amongst that group, black women had it hard moving up places to find their place within the Black Panther Party. So this show is a reflection of that in a way, when you think about how hard Louis has had it in terms of being not being respected. We saw, Dion in the last episode basically, in essence, call her a bitch, like right in front of her man, and said he said this. I'm not even talking to you. So this is something that has been festering up for her for the past 6 seasons, and she basically said, "Hey, my self worth is worth dying for." And so, so Louis' insecurity, Louis' lack of self worth. Remember how rough Louis had it with all the things that happened with if you remember Claudia from seasons 1 and 2, and the shit that she did to Louis, and Louis was, she turned Louis. Louis basically was her little, kind of like she was, basically tricking for Claudia, and Louis. I mean, she was basically Claudia's girl toy. So Louis had it rough, to say the least. Like even in that scene, Jerome said, "Look, you've been fucked up for a long time. I can't do any more for you. Like I can't do it no more. Like I can't. I thought I could change you. I couldn't. So I mean, again, there were no lies told from that standpoint. Louis was who she was. she was going to end up being who she was going to be, and there was no saving her. Jerome, you know, he tried, he couldn't do anything to save her, and this is who she is. And it's interesting with Jerome and Louis how it's just it's kind of like two people who love each other, but in essence are not good for each other. Like Jerome Louis was just not good for Jerome in essence. Like she was not. She's just not. Like, they love each other to death, but she just wasn't good for him. Just wasn't at the end of the day. So great scenes between those two actors. Those two actors have just tremendous chemistry between them. Angela Lewis and Amin Joseph, and they've had that for the better part of the better part of now 6 seasons. Franklin and Gustavo. So Gustavo is feeling the heat, of course. He gets ripped by the DEA. They want answers. They're threatening to throw him in jail. So he's desperate. Franklin just coming off killing uh, Teddy's father. The block is hot for him, has gotten hotter for him as well. So they meet up. Gustavo's only play at this point now is to completely betray Teddy Mack. So Franklin, of course, wants Teddy. Franklin offers him the $1 million. He can't do the 10 million. He doesn't have those type of assets, but he can give Teddy $1 million for passports, fake IDs, and all that stuff for Teddy's family. Excuse me, for Gustavo's family, but for Gustavo's family. But Gustavo, of course, tells Franklin like, look, if I'm gonna do this, betray Teddy, which I am, you might, you gotta make sure you have to make sure that you kill him. Like there can't be no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because he will know, he's gonna know that I betrayed him. And these, out of all the characters at this point, these two that are left, these neither one of these guys has very few friends at this point. Franklin has, I mean, Franklin, we can say that Franklin now basically has, maybe Franklin has his mom, Veronique, and Leon. Gustavo just has Franklin, and the only reason Franklin is fucking with Gustavo is not out of loyalty; it's out of because he can get Teddy back, because he's using him to get to Teddy McDonald. That's all there is to it. So Gustavo has basically next to nobody. So Gustavo had to make this move. He has to betray Teddy, and this is the only play for Gustavo. So they talk about, they talk about moving forward, what that's going to look like in terms of uh, setting up Teddy. So we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I don't think Gustavo makes it out. I just don't. I just think that I don't think he makes it out. I cannot see just him riding off in the sunset with $10 million. That's just not going to happen. Teddy and Ruben, so they finally meet. Teddy pulls up to Ruben's apartment. Um, Ruben, of course, brings a gun to the door. Teddy, this was the actor that plays Carter Hudson was just was great in the scene. He was great. Carter Hudson was good in the scene. Um, because it was kind of like he gave you some, hey, I feel empathy for you. We are kind of kindred spirits. When you came into, the first time, he's telling Ruben like, I know how you feel being alone in this world, the type of work that you're doing with the KGB, the type of work that I'm doing with the CIA, you know. But then that immediately switches to, hey, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. So it gives Ruben an out, gives him an out to stop coming after his organization. To kind of, he says, if I see you again, it's, I'm going, I can get to you, and I could have killed you. Basically, said I could have killed you tonight. Um, Again, threatens to expose Ruben, threatens to kill Ruben. I think, and this was a move that we saw this coming with Teddy and Ruben. Ruben has no outs. Like Ruben can't go back to his people and say he threatened to kill me, so now we need to pull out and not go through this. He has to go through it. He has no choice. So I see a situation where probably Teddy's probably going to end up killing Ruben. I don't think Ruben's getting him. I think Teddy is probably going to end up killing Ruben, and you're going to have that. That in that storyline will be going. But Carter Hudson was spectacular in this scene. Understated. Um, he again, he right now is, and Franklin was, Frank. There's a scene where Franklin says, I basically have him right where I want him. He's rattled, and he is rattled. There's no question that Teddy Mack, that the death of his father shook him. Regardless of what he says in terms of them not getting along and what have you, he still feels guilty for the fact that, remember, his father didn't tell him about the funeral of his only brother, who we know indirectly that Teddy was responsible for his death, with for like coming, being his plane, flying planes for him, getting him involved in stuff that he had no business getting involved with, and him having, of course, having a heart attack and heart trouble that led to his eventual death a couple seasons ago. So again, I think Teddy probably will kill Ruben. Ruben has no other outs. He can't go back to the KGB and all of a sudden say, "Hey, this he gave me this ultimatum. Maybe we should kind of back off." Like, no, that's not gonna happen. So you had those are the three. You had those three scenes. Of course, you had again the shootout with Kane, the rescue, Scully, Franklin. You had that going on. Them rescuing Louis. Um, you also had Gustavo. I frankly don't care about the one thing that has bothered me about the season. I don't care about Parissa, and I don't care about Parissa and Teddy, that relationship. I just don't. Like, I have that, those scenes I could do without those scenes, to be perfectly honest with you. MVP of the episode was Percy the Pimp. Percy the Pimp came. So Kane has Louis tied up. Um, they kidnapped her from the stable, killed her bodyguards. They have her tied up. They try to give her to give up Buckley, because all Kane wanted Louis and Buckley. Buckley was, of course, the cop that shot Kane, and Louis, of course, hired Buckley to do so. So they come in, they basically torture Louis, beat her up, brand her. I know a lot of people. There were some people on the internet that had a problem with that. They had a problem with the treatment of Louis during that scene. Thought that they might have went too far with it. Listen, Kane is Kane. Like, how just ridiculously demented that character is, and how he moves. I mean, he is a psychopath. That's all there is to it. He's just absolutely out of his mind. And well played by, of course, Devon Nixon, the son of Norm Nixon. But Kane says, "Hey, you don't want to talk? We just gonna have a little party." He basically called some of his friends that just got out of jail, including a pimp called Percy. This guy, whoever, I don't know who this actor was, but he had the pimp down cold. I mean, you have seen very few pimps on screen that played the role of a pimp as well as this dude played. And he had about what, two scenes, and he destroyed both of those scenes. Well, how many scenes? Well, one scene. Really had one scene with Louis. He destroyed it. He destroyed. I was looking for an MVP, and I could have went to could have went Jerome, could have went. I could have went Louis. Angela Lewis was fabulous in this. Was tremendous in this episode, but this guy stood out. Whoever his name, I forget the actor's name. Hadn't seen him before, but Percy the Pimp. Percy was his name, and he destroyed his role, destroyed this cat role for the short time that he had, having basically only one scene. So he's the MVP of the episode, in my opinion. Thoughts and predictions. Again, I think this is it's going to be the first of many major character deaths. I don't think Gustavo's surviving. I don't think we know that Louis not surviving. I don't think Franklin's surviving. I don't think that Franklin going to jail, being left and riding off to the sunset, those are things that are not happening. I think that you're going to see at least 4 to 5 more major character deaths. Again, I don't think Leon survived. So Leon, Gustavo, Franklin, and Louis, I don't think any of those characters are surviving. Like now, you might have like a Sissy. You'll have somebody, Wanda. I think Wanda survives. I think Sissy survives. Um, but Teddy, of course, yeah, Teddy's. I don't think Teddy survives. I think the majority of these characters. This is going to be the majority of these characters are going to go. Like I think that I think you know the Jerome death will set off a number of character deaths, of major character deaths over the course of the final 4 episodes. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I will have this podcast up as soon as possible. Um, and I will see you next time on the next edition of the Real Deal podcast. Have a great, great weekend. See you next time.